everyone, and welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the 6th race of the Mopar CSBK Championship. I'm your series announcer, Frank Wood. This race is brought to you in part by Dalton Timmis Insurance, Motovan, Kawasaki, Magneti Marelli offered by Mopar, and Dunlop. Well, here we go for the 6th race of 2016. Colin, just one more race tomorrow. This one much anticipated.
Right, after a very exciting Dalton Timmis Super Pole session yesterday, I think the regulars on the series are probably pleased that our visiting Italian Cordy, you can see him on that bright orange motorcycle in that back shot there, only wound up on the second row of the grid, and he showed some good form previously. So I guess the question, while we look at the rest of the grid, is really, is Cordy capable of more, and at what point will he join in the fun? We're looking on the grid here, and we can see Hornblower and Darren James have joined the series for the first time this year. Both of them have competed with us previously. Hornblower is a regular on the SOAR series at Grand Bend. Darren James has been road racing in Ireland and also down in the Moto America series. Then we can see on rows 4 and 5, Trepanier, Souza, Scott Rupert, another SOAR racer from Grand Bend, Mitch Card, another SOAR racer from Grand Bend, joining up with his new R1, Ross Milson back for the first time since the opener at Shannonville. Now we get to the pictures of the fast guys. Tremblay, Williams, Leon, and Bodie Eady. Eady back after repairing that Yamaha that was badly damaged at St. Eustache a while ago. Then row 2, Chris Marie-Audin, always fast here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Cordy, center of attention this weekend, and Trevor Daly on his Yamaha R1 looking to find some form. Then the top row, Zoke, McBride, Young, Riedman on a Kawasaki, everybody else on a BMW. Zoke so far undefeated this year, perfect in terms of pole, other than losing on lap sled to Riedman at our last race at Shuby. He's been perfect.
Yeah, very, very hard to beat, and it, as you say, Colin, perfect. It's like a fine painting where the artist is just putting the final dabs on it in terms of his career. Taking note of Cordy's starting position, he is starting from row 2, of course, but he does have a good spot there in that he's lined up behind some of our very, very fast starters, and we're talking about Matt McBride and Kenny Riedman, and of course Ben Young's pretty sharp off the line as well. And what more can you say about Jordan Zoke? Of course, he's had some dynamite starts as well. Under starters orders now, the field has gathered, and they'll be concentrating on that Blue Streak Racing starting light. We use the F1 style lights here, as you've noted a number of times, Colin, where the lights are on. At this point in time, our lights are on. The riders are concentrating on. When the lights go off, the clutches come out.
There we can see a good shot of those first 2 rows. Zoke has switched spots. He's gone from the outside of the track to the inside, which is his prerogative as the pole sitter. The revs are coming up. A little movement there at the front.
Matt McBride was the one that's moving, and Matt McBride is on the move. It looks like he had a good hole shot there as we peel off into turn 1. Goodness gracious, we're on board with Jordan Zoke, and it looks like we're going backwards right now. He's sitting in 5th position, getting passed by no fewer than 3 riders in turn 1.
And I think Zoke was 5th on the opening lap at Shannonville in our opening round, and that's the last time he's had this many motorcycles in front of him except for lappers.
Claudio Cordy going for a bit of a sprint here on the Aprilia RSV4 as he brings it through turn 3 on this lap number 1. Matt McBride, we're going for a ride with him right now, sitting back in 4th spot. And
I think what's going on right now is panic, because Young, Riedman, McBride, Jordan Zoke, pardon me, Trevor Daly, I'm looking at the top riders behind Cordy. Nobody expected Cordy to jump right to the front because we haven't seen quite that pace from him, and you can see the traction control and the electronics in that Aprilia worked just dandy at the start, and now these guys have to roll up their sleeves immediately. Nobody knows how hard Cordy can go, and he's trying to break clear.
McBride getting a bit of a tow by Kenny Riedman there. McBride on the BMW, Riedman on board the Kawasaki ZX-10R. McBride ends up at the top end of that duel, and he sits in 3rd spot now as we come in through turn number 9. We bank over into turn 10. Cordy's lead seems to have evaporated slightly, lifting the front wheel on that Aprilia and carrying it right down the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Let's talk about Matt McBride. Sorry to interrupt there, Frank, but McBride has been on the move big time and really showing some pace immediately, and this is what I expected or hoped to see with Cordy getting aggressive, is seeing the rest of the guys go after him in a similar fashion. And again, Jordan Zoke at the very very back of this group, and Matt McBride being the one who's taking on the Italian and flying the Canadian flag at this point.
You saw the illustration, too, of the different lines. Cordy using that different line in through turn 2, where McBride and Ben Young on a very different line. McBride having a quick look there as he come up over the top of the hill in turn 2. Yeah, Matt McBride is right on him now, and Ben Young is also within striking distance.
Lots of speculation about what Cordy would do. Would he follow the leaders, have a look, learn the lines? Well, he's not learning any lines right now because he's led from the whole shot at the start, and Cordy dragging the top 4 along with him, and definitely a real shock in terms of pace here. You can see how small that Aprilia is, how aerodynamic. Cordy not particularly a big guy, but that bike is very small in terms of frontal area, which actually makes it hard to tuck in. There you can see, look at that, Young and Reedman going
3
around.
riders abreast between 8 and 9. That was a beautiful shot there as Kenny Reedman had the inside line. Matt McBride was on the outside, and Ben Young was in the sandwich right in between. On board with Zoke right now, and whoa, just about into the back end of McBride.
Yeah, and okay, McBride's looking, so there was definitely a problem there. I don't know exactly what's going on, but you've got to think it's some kind of mechanical issue. Let's go back on board with Zoke, and he's in that cautious 5th, smart place to be early in the race. You see McBride a little careful in 9 with some kind of problem, drifting wide, and as you can tell from this shot here, which was that wonderful camera work from our cameraman in the platform there, showing that McBride has encountered some kind of problem. And here, okay, we're at the bottom of turn 2, and McBride fell here a couple of years ago in the rain when he thought he was going to win, and now he's pulling off in a similar spot. So that's a heartbreaker, and he showed a lot of pace, made a couple of big passes early, and was really creating some excitement chasing Cordy early in the race.
He walks away from that rider's choice machine. He did so well in the Dalton Timmis Insurance qualifying, the Super Pole session as well, on those Q tires that you mentioned, Colin.
Yeah, McBride tried to stretch out his Q tire session with the soft Dunlops, and was pretty exciting for a lap there, trying to see if he could get a little more time in. And there you can see Reedman going underneath Young, and last year we saw Reedman do some pretty spectacular. Now they go by Cordy, and Cordy seems to have no great urge to get to the apex in turn 8.
Speaking of spectacular, indeed, we were on board there with Ben Young looking back at Kenny Reedman. Reedman now has a clear field of vision. He has taken the race lead, and Cordy has been shunted back all the way to 3rd spot.
And I hate to be the voice of doom or anything, Frank, but Jordan Zoke probably is having a look at what everybody's doing, seeing particularly what Cordy can do, how everybody responds. And Jordan Zoke filling in his data book is not good news for anybody. So it's easy to say he's not happy in 4th, but he's right with the leaders, and he's riding conservatively. And I think, if anything, Jordan's just gaining knowledge to be used against them late in the race.
Well, speaking of knowledge, the man has a very deep file in racing in general, and particularly at this racetrack. He's done very well here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
And the part played by Matt McBride in earlier laps is now being played by Kenny Reedman in terms of riding very aggressively and seeming to want to set the pace and show the way. Reedman on that Kawasaki, which overall has been a fast bike with our series, new to the series this year, a new model for this year from Kawasaki. And Scott Cameron built the engine on that motorcycle, and he's pulling everybody up the back straight with considerable style. And Cordy actually seems to have, well, almost got down to the apex in turn 8 that time.
Cordy getting a really good toe up that straightaway as well in behind Reedman and Young. He had some good pocket of soft air to take advantage of, and he stays right in touch with them. Casting wide again on the exit of 10, and Jordan Zoke now having a look as they head down into 1. Cordy slowly closing the door on him, and once again we go into freight train. Oh, wait a minute now, here comes Zoke. Taking a run at him up over the hill. No, oh, wow, Cordy right in front of him. Just about took the front wheel off that BMW. Now Zoke has got him. He pounces on him at the bottom of 2.
And Cordy is using all the track, and, you know, we have joked over the years about the European style. You go in wide, stay wide, and come out wide, but that does seem to be what Cordy's up to. There you can see Young having a look at Reedman. That on the inside of 4 would be an unusual place to make a move, but Zoke seems to be picking up the pace a bit. Now we see Cordy at the back of the group, and the question is, will this change his line, or will he simply be satisfied that his very unusual lines are the appropriate choices for him and his motorcycle?
I'm going to watch Ben Young this time going through Mosses, because Ben Young took a very, very wide turn last time around. Unfortunately, I missed it that time, but here we go up the front, up at Mario Andretti straightaway. Reedman and Young side by side for a moment. Here comes Zoke. He looks to the inside of Cordy. Ben Young has taken the race lead.
And a nice move there by Young. Now, he lost a good engine on Thursday during a Rider's Choice test day here. So they have actually theoretically less powerful engine in his motorcycle, but he's worked his way to the very front. There you can see Cordy on the curb, almost on the grass, looking inside Riedman. Good to know he can go on the inside, or at least look to the inside. And Zoke back to fourth. And again, I can't help but feel that Zoke is okay as long as he's close, and I don't expect he'll place fourth.
He's obviously keeping pace, and as he's noted a couple of times, he deals with one problem at a time.
Well, to be fair, he likes to deal with one problem at a time. He has three right now, and one's an unknown, and that's Cordy, nice and wide on the entrance to three, but comes back down. These onboard shots this time are fantastic, particularly because Cordy, not only have we not seen him ride, but the way he rides is so materially different from everybody else. And again, I'm watching to see, somebody with a problem at the bottom of two there, so I guess that's...
I think that's Chris Murray O'Dane's bike from an earlier mishap.
And that's too bad because he normally is amongst the front runners here. Fortunately, lots of paved runoff there at the bottom of two, but that is a scary spot to fall down, and Ben Young pulls them up the hill.
We were going for a ride with Kenny Riedman. There we go again on board the Kawasaki ZX-10 as they come up over the top of the hill and stuff it into turn 8, and Ben Young continues to lead this on the BMW. So we got BMW, Kawasaki, and Aprilia running 1, 2, 3.
Yes, and then the reigning champion, the man on the win streak, the guy who could clinch the title, is in fourth, and if it seems like he's a distance back at Motorsport, you could easily make up that kind of ground in just one turn, particularly with the slipstream.
Indeed, and I think the phrase wily veteran would probably apply to Jordan Zoke, as we've commented a number of times. He's the guy with the most number of laps on this racetrack. He's enjoyed the most success of all the riders we're watching here again on this racetrack, so he is definitely primed to do well. Ben Young really putting in a great effort here, and I don't think I've seen Ben look so good, so confident, and so secure as he does right now.
And I would like to say, because I've been saying it before this race, that this is where I expected Young to shine, regardless of whether he has his best engine, because he's so smooth, his lines are so good, he's looked great here. This seems to be a track that suits him when he rode a middleweight class motorcycle. So it's nice that at the end of the year, to complete his first real season on a Superbike, and of course he'll probably take Rookie of the Year honors, that Young is showing what he's capable of. Perhaps he doesn't have the best setup he could possibly have, but nonetheless, he is very competitive here and has a good shot at the win. Of course, everybody here at the track is watching Cordy, partly because it's so interesting to see that bike and particularly hear that bike, but also because he's such an unknown.
Great stuff. Yeah, Ben Young scoring second spot, don't forget, in qualifying at St. Eustache. The team overjoyed with that. And after that qualifying effort, Colin, remember one trackside person commenting that Ben's going to win one of these. And the following comment was, if he's going to win one, it's going to happen at Motorsport. We're talking Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Ben Young is leading this Superbike race right now.
And we're almost at half distance. And I think maybe the boys are breathing the tires a bit. It's hot. They're pushing. The pace is much faster than it's ever been in a race here, or at least much faster than it's been in quite a few years. We have to probably go back to Zoke and McCormick in 2011 when we had a really aggressive pace throughout the race. And there's a little bit of a gap now between Riedman and second and Cordy.
The young guys are starting to get some breathing space here.
The back straight's coming, Frank. It just does.
I always get reminded of that.
A few years ago, we saw Bodie Eady win a race here after he almost got scrubbed off the lead group because he worked the slipstream so well. And here we go. So Ben Young on that BMW pulling Riedman's Kawasaki, and then there's a slight gap to the Zoke BMW, and then the Aprilia, then the Zoke BMW, and let's see what happens this time.
What strategy does a champion use sitting back in fourth spot at this portion of the race course?
Well, he's not rushing it. If anything, it looks like he's trying to hang back in the draft and not wanting to lead, and it's interesting to see, and we're coming up on some traffic now, so things are going to get interesting. So Young has very little experience on the point, and it's probably a little stressful with those three guys right behind him wondering what kind of move he wants to make.
Cordy looked like he was having a bit of trouble there, that bike getting into a bit of a wobble coming off of turn number 10. Now, that may have been his choice of lines of exit. On board now with Kenny Riedman chasing Ben Young. They made short work of that lapper. Down into two they go. That lapper may affect Claudio Cordy, and oh no! Oh my goodness! Oh God! Ben Young has crashed out of it. That motorcycle tumbling over, pieces flying off it.
Yeah,
Wow, what a
not
tough
sure what
break.
happened there, Frank. Let's go to the slow-mo. So Young maybe a little offline because of the lapper, and there you can see he crosses the first of the patches and saves it, but very briefly. Then the bike jumps up, and he actually gets his foot caught and gets pulled under the motorcycle. Now watch here. There he starts to lose the back, saves it, then really out of control, grabbed by the bike, and then the bike just goes for a huge bounce. Now look over to our right. Look at Jordan Zook. He actually turns his head and catches a glimpse of what's going on. And okay, on board from Riedman. This should be crazy stuff. And look at that, Young just doing everything to hang on, gets attacked by his own bike, and Riedman really goes to great lengths to not run over his compatriot there, and Young really fortunate to get up. That was a big ground incident.
Boy, was it ever, and he walked away quite briskly, so we're pleased to have seen that happen. Kenny Riedman, meanwhile, continues out front here, Clearfield Division for the young lad out of Bellefontaine, Ontario, and as I commented a number of times coming into this weekend, you know, Kenny Riedman, rather, has to be the hungriest Superbike rider on the grid.
Well, I made the comment about maybe breathing the tires, but all three of these guys really had a fright there, and you know, would have been terrifying, particularly for Riedman. His pulse has to be sky high right now because he really had to work hard to miss it. I don't know if you saw that as Young was sliding, he actually pulled his hands in. He was so close to Riedman. So good work by Riedman. Really smart there and using all the racetrack in a real panic situation. And he continues to ride aggressively. And now Cordy looks like he's coming up to have another poke at him as we're coming to halfway.
Well, even coming out of turn 3 in the last exit of 3, Kenny Riedman's back tire stepping out ever so slightly, and he getting it back under control. And right now he's being hunted by Cordy on the Aprilia RSV, and oh wow, is he ever close. Looks like he's pulling out to make a pass. They're exactly side by side. They mirror one another coming under the bridge, and then finally Riedman perhaps gives him his line. Whoa, does he indeed? Riedman returns the favor once more. This kid is in for a fight on this day.
And Cordy went slipstreaming by, and then he did not cut down to the apex in turn 8 off the back straight, left the door open. I have no idea if that's a strategy or what his goal is, because Cordy almost never comes to the apex in that corner. Very unusual riding style, and Zook had the double draft, pulled up and didn't get involved. And I think, again, he's just hanging back. Look at him having a glance inside Cordy there. And can't say enough about Riedman at our last race at Atlantic Motorsport Park on Sunday. And, man, there's a fair bit of debris there on the outside of turn 2 in the paved runoff. Anyway, at our last race at Shuby on Sunday, Riedman really changed up his riding style and came fairly close to beating Zook. Led the most laps, about the only thing that anyone's taken from Zook this year. So we know Riedman is very determined. This is the completion of his second year as a Superbike racer. He has lots of second place finishes, lots of good laps, but he doesn't have that one thing that nobody has against Jordan Zook lately.
Well, Cordy, of course, having a ton of experience in Europe and racing in MotoGP, and there goes Riedman into the marbles. We saw him doing that quite a bit in the Liqui Pro Sport Bike race, now doing it in the Superbike race, and I can't help but think that that's a calculated move, Colin.
Yeah, it's not popular with the people behind you. It gets their attention and tends to cause them to pull out of the draft. It's a trick you can't use all the time. It's certainly a trick that people like Brett McCormick and Jordan Zook and Steve Crevier have used in the past, and eventually all the debris does get scattered out of that little trench for drainage. And now we're well past halfway, and Riedman continues to hold the lead. And the guys are look at that Zook having a poke again at the Aprilia, and again Cordy very wide, and he opened the door.
Zook's got him. Going up into 2, Zook passed him before the brink of the hill, and now Jordan Zook has moved into second spot. We're getting into awfully familiar territory here.
Yeah, a familiar territory, but we have a Kawasaki, a BMW, and an Aprilia. That's not as familiar, and I really wouldn't want to call this. I know last year we had a pretty good battle between Riedman and Zook, and Riedman was more flamboyant, but Zook was more effective. Riedman definitely knows that from last time, and that is going to have some effect on the decisions he makes in the last couple of laps. But if it comes down to a chess match and there's various pieces moving on the board, Zoke tends to be the guy who succeeds in those situations because he's determined to, and he doesn't want to break that winning streak. He wants to win the championship, and I think both Riedman and Zoke really want to show that they can handle Cordy and that very fast V4 Aprilia.
A notable change of lines by Kenny Riedman just after we came over the brink of the hill there, entering turn number 8, where he swung off to the right. Here we go now through turn number 10. Cordy running third here in behind
Cordy
Zoke.
staying on the track that time, wasn't up on the curb.
That was a racing line he was on, I
he's
think.
almost following the other guys, but don't let anybody know I think that.
Uh-oh, Zoke is there. Zoke could throw a stone right now and hit Riedman. Riedman accelerating a bit, very briefly, I should say, out of turn number 2. Leaves the door open. Zoke has a look at it, but decides to get back into Kenny Riedman's wheel tracks, is where he sits right now.
And look at Cordy in turn 3. He swings so wide out. Very unusual riding style, and not always carrying the same amount of lean as the other guys. Just I don't think his plan, Frank, is to start riding the way the other guys are. He seems comfortable with the lines he's chosen, and they are quite different from what our regulars do here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Making his own choices. Take note that our top 3 riders are coming up on lappers here now on the straightaway. And a quick identification on the first one they're going to meet would be Mike Raniowski. We pick up on that yellow motorcycle. He's chasing the black bike of one of the black riders, actually, from Motovan, Stacy Nesbitt, on the 316 machine. There's Stacy now as Zoke goes past, and Claudio Cordy around the outside of Stacy. I don't know whether there was any elbow contact there. They were very close.
Well, the riders are asked to hold their line when they're getting past like that. Normally blue flags are shown, but you don't expect to get past on both sides. And again, Cordy continues to do things a little out of the ordinary. Those Motovan supplied onboard cameras do such a good job of giving you a real feel of what it's like to ride these bikes, but today more than ever, perhaps, we get a sense. And look at that on the inside of 2, and that is bold stuff by Zoke. I'm a little surprised he would try that this early. I don't think that's a move he's going to use to win this race. It's too early in the lap, but Riedman now knows that Zoke is not patient anymore.
Yeah, Riedman left to top off the teapot on that one and invited Zoke right in through the back door.
I hate it when people leave the top off the teapot.
I knew you would. On board with Zoke once more as we charge down through turn 2, and Zoke all over Riedman. Cordy having a look at the 2 Canadians up front and figuring that he'd like to take home some of our Canadian cash. He can't leave this place getting beat up by a bunch of Canadians. He's going to be embarrassed.
Well, and, you know, he's a professional racer. As he said, he has one purpose here, and that is to win. He's used to chasing Yamahas in the Moto America series, where he's won 5 rounds this year. Now he's chasing Kawasaki and BMWs.
Look
he
at
chooses
this.
the inside, and look, he's showing more performance at the top of the hill than we've seen so far.
Wow. Zoke around the outside of Riedman, moves into the point once more, and Claudio Cordy sitting back there taking it all in. And entertainment value is very high at this point. On board with Kenny Riedman now as we dive to the inside of turn number 10 and take over the point once more. Cordy virtually sliding, both wheels coming out of 10 and chasing. Wow, beautiful shot of Riedman swooping into turn number 1 there and defending his lead, if you will, or fighting for it. Let's have another look.
Okay, coming off the back straight, and it's just amazing. Zoke decides to go anyway. You talk about sliding wheels, Frank. Everybody's sliding in this situation. Zoke had a bit of a rear end moment. Then Riedman, who was drifting both wheels, barges in on the inside of 10. And then Cordy's back to his old tricks on the exit here, and he's almost on the curb. And it makes you wonder what his last lap plan is and how much of an effect and surprise it might have on the other guys.
Yeah, you might say that of Zoke as well. Last lap plan, what would it be? You know, as we get late into this race now, I think we're working lap number 14 or 15 now, if I'm not mistaken. On board once more, the Express Lane Motovan sponsored number 1 bike of Jordan Zoke, and we are coming up on another lap rider here.
Yeah, I think that's BMW.
That's Riley Gage Daw on the number 21.
Ex-Andrew Nelson bike, and he holds his line, gets a little bit over, so it doesn't have an effect on those guys. Riedman continues to lead, and there you go. Cordy just a little bit wide through. He pretty much got to the apex that time, so I shouldn't be too hard on him.
Well, you know, the riders were notified at the riders' meeting. Zoke moves to the inside of Cordy and has moved back into second spot. This is awesome stuff. This is like a dealer in Las Vegas shuffling the cards as these riders shuffle around and change positions, it seems, at will. Lap number 16.
Let's talk about the last turn. It's going to be crucial, Frank, and the back straight's important, but the last turn tends to be when things happen. Riedman was schooled by Zoke last year. Zoke and Lacombe got into it on the last turn and opened the door for Alex Welch to win his first career Superbike race a few years ago. Cordy, no history, no race. First time here. He's been riding with these guys, and his lines in the 8, 9, 10, which is kind of a funnel section of this track, are unpredictable, I want to go with. So this is shaking up, or will shake out in a manner that's not only unpredictable but likely to be frighteningly entertaining.
2 turns. Wow, Cordy up on the turtles there. 2 turns ago, I would have counted him almost out of this, but of course we have to wait till this back straight to see how things truly blend out. You don't really know what's happening until they get into the 8 and 9. Here comes Zoke right alongside Kenny Riedman, and it looks like, has he taken the... Yes, he has.
And when they go side by side like that, it just helps Cordy. They're just moving so much air.
Zoke into the race lead. And again, more traffic coming up. That was a very gentlemanly move. I'm not sure who that was, but somebody got out of the way and indicated to the fast riders that there's room on the inside. And again, the riders at the riders meeting warned, we have a number of 600cc machines in the race and a full field. So we fully anticipated that we would get into lap traffic fairly quickly in this national championship race. And the riders were warned that when one rider goes by you, he might bring some friends along. And that's exactly what's happening here.
Big entry at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Very good pace in qualifying, very good pace in the race. Here you can see Riedman very aggressive here with Zoke and announcing his presence on the entry. Didn't quite work, but everybody's trying to do the math in reverse at this point, trying to figure out where they want to be at one point in the lap, but I don't think the other guy's riding is predictable enough to really know. And it's interesting, suddenly Riedman just seems determined to lead this one, and it's weird he's impatient because normally he gets to the back straight and it works out pretty well for him. Let's think about that for the last lap.
He's so hungry, Colin. He is salivating for a Superbike win, and it just may come at this racetrack. He's certainly riding like a champion right now. There's no question about that. It may determine, who gets the best draft off the back straightaway, who gets the best luck. Riedman now, talk about luck, moves around, tries to make a move around Zoke going through turn number 8, sits in behind him for 9 right now, and we're in his wheel tracks exactly. Watch for a stab to the inside of 10. Nope, not going to happen this time around. Cordy's right there to strike if necessary.
And I think Cordy was going to try and make a move in 8, but Riedman went and Cordy couldn't make the same move with him and probably was wondering if something could happen. So really not much of this race left to run, just a few kilometers, and still anyone's race. Zoke leading now. I got to tell you, I don't expect Zoke to be leading at this point in the last lap because I think he will shuffle back to see how the slipstream can work for him. That seems to have been his strategy most of the time lately. And of course, most of the time lately, the strategy has worked in various ways, but to perfection for Jordan Zoke. I mean, he has this incredible winning record in the series, and it certainly applies here. 2 years ago, he missed the race because of a trials injury, and I think you should start talking about Cordy.
Cordy right on the inside, a beautiful pass on Riedman. Riedman returns the favor. This is like 2 prize fighters duking it out as Riedman has moved back into second spot after being shunted down 1 position by the invading Italian rider on the Aprilia. There goes Riedman into the marbles once more to urge Claudio to stay behind.
Now look at this, almost at the bottom of the hill, Cordy just keeps the throttle on when Riedman's starting to go for the brakes, and nice move. Blocks Riedman just a little bit, but this part's amazing. For once, Cordy doesn't go way wide. He's on Zoke's line, and Riedman just says to heck with that. And what's great is it doesn't slow either of them down that much, and they should be able to pick up the drop. But it's kind of Riedman letting Cordy know, you can't push me around. And there's going to be some pushing around coming with 2 laps to go, Frank. This is nowhere near done, and I wouldn't want to try and predict what could occur here.
I think the key phrase was that Cordy was on Zoke's line, and Kenny Riedman says to heck with that. And so if Zoke is on Zoke's line, Kenny Riedman's probably going to say the same thing. Coming out of turn 2 now as they steam up towards Quebec corner, turn number 3. This is the same corner that Zoke and Riedman went around perfectly side by side the complete way around the corner last time around.
Heading down to 4, the big drop off down the hill here. Exciting part of the track. Cordy's definitely shown lots of bravery, and he was thinking about making a move. Didn't happen. Jordan didn't really leave the door open, and Jordan riding very carefully here, not too flamboyant, pushing hard, sliding a bit, and not leaving a lot of room. You're going to have to work the outside to get by. And look at Cordy in the draft.
He is more exacting, or has been on this previous lap, than we've seen him all race long. It's as though he's been playing around, and now he's decided to go on the racing line and really put some horsepower to the track. Around the outside of Zoke. How do you like that in turn number 8? He has the race lead. The Italian on the Aprilia now leads the Canadian National Championship penultimate round.
And there you can see, wow, Reedman really jamming his way through there. And Reedman, I think, is scared of losing Cordy. Cordy taking that wide line in 8, didn't go to the apex, still managed to hold off Zoke. We're on the last lap, and Cordy's leading, and he did very well in the draft. That's the most we've seen out of that Aprilia V4 so far. So I don't know. Maybe Cordy has enough to work the draft.
Oh, look at Reedman. He is pressing the boundaries of bravery right now, working through turn number 2, and he looks to the inside of Cordy in 3. Not quite enough room to get the job done.
Oh, there's lots of room. It's just a speed issue.
He tucks in behind Cordy now as they head up towards turn number 4, and then the big dive down into Mosses. This could be where it happens.
On board with Zoke, and he's trying hard to split the difference. I don't know what the heck Cordy was doing on the wide part of 4. Nobody goes out there, and he picks up the normal line. Reedman's been good at pulling these guys up the hill, and he's leading. That's an odd strategic decision, so let's see what happens. Last time up, the Mario Andretti back straight as Reedman hits the ditch.
I was just about to say that he hadn't headed for the ditch, and sure enough, there he went into the ditch. A last-ditch effort, if you don't mind me saying. Here we are now, perfectly side by side, 3 riders at the brink of the hill. Cordy has moved into the race lead, the Italian now, and here comes Reedman. Reedman comes back again. Reedman has taken the lead ever so for short a time. He comes around turn number 8 and 9. They're battling it out onto the front straightaway. Cordy way wide now, and contact between Reedman and Cordy, and Zoke has won it. Zoke has won another one. That is race win number 57.
What an effort by Zoke there, and I honestly couldn't tell you who was second. That was crazy close, and definitely Cordy and Reedman were maybe too focused on one another, and Zoke lined them up, and he got the drive, was in the right place coming onto the front straightaway, while the other guys were improvising and doodling way off the page. And I think there was contact between Cordy and Reedman just a couple of times, at least a couple of times, and look at that.
Look, he can't believe it. He won it himself.
Yeah, what an incredible race, and of course the adrenaline is just so amazing. So everybody's so excited at this point to participate in that, and it's going to be interesting to see who was second. It was really too close to call.
When's the last time you saw Jordan so excited about a win? And we've seen him win lots of races. I've never seen him so pleased with himself.
Well, maybe back in the 90s. Look at this. Zoke on the line, the inside sliding. Reedman worried about Cordy coming, and Cordy's cutting back to make sure those guys don't get there. Definitely contact there. You'll see one of our onboard cameras no longer on board. Reedman's foot banged off the peg, and that definitely hurt Reedman's drive. Okay, on board, there's Cordy's foot, and there goes our camera. Fortunately, it's not Reedman. It's just the camera. Here they go for the line. Reedman with his leg out, and Cordy looks like he got Reedman by, a brake rotor, more or less.
Wow.
Jordan Zoke confirmed as our winner, his 6th straight. Claudio Cordy second by inches from Reedman, who was in the thick of it. What a great battle for the top 3. Trevor Daly, very good 4th, battling with Michael Leon. Then Bodie Eady, 6th in his return. Tremblay 7th. Darren James 8th in his first race of the year. Trepanier and Mitch Card in his first Superbike race on his new Yamaha round out our top 10 in a great race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Now let's head down to our podium and hear from our winners. There's got to be a story or two.
Coming into this race, I knew exactly what to expect from Jordan because we had a couple good battles last year, and Claudio, I haven't even spun a lap around him all weekend, so it was interesting to see his different riding style from obviously coming from a GP background. A lot of wider swooping lines, whereas me and Jordan are kind of more point and shoot. So it added a whole nother dynamic to a 3-rider battle. I'm pretty bummed that I came out in 3rd. I thought I had that win, and I really wanted that win. But, man, that was so much fun, so I hope all the fans enjoyed it.
Claudio, I guess we could say welcome to Canada. Thanks for putting on such a great race.
You ruined my vacation, huh? I was on the lake Monday morning, and my boss called me, let's go race to Canada. Okay, why not? So It's a good way to start the weekend of vacation race for us. We test a couple of stuff that, we're gonna use in New Jersey in 3 weeks. And, these guys were pretty fast. They make me sweat all the race.
It felt awesome when I got going and I just got into the zone and I just couldn't let it go. Having Claudio here, he's a fantastic rider, a world-renowned rider, and for him to come here and battle with us, it just brings a lot of nice credibility to the Canadian circuit. I'm glad he came, and I can't thank him enough for putting on a good show with us. Out of all my wins, all 58 of them now, I honestly think this is the best one. It really is. It means this one really felt great. It was such a great battle the whole race. There was so much going on with some crashes and things. This is just awesome, and I look forward to tomorrow. I'm sure you guys are going to be again for another good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, there now is your podium. Here now is the Canada Cup, which will go to Jordan Zoke again, and the number 1 plate, which will go to Jordan Zoke again. The people's champion hears from the people this time around. Claudio has no intentions of spraying that stuff all over the place as of yet. Anyways, here he comes. And Zoke has been hosed. Beautiful.
Looking at our point standings, and it's confirmed, Jordan Zoke takes his 2nd straight crown. As Frank pointed out, it's his 11th career. Not bad. Way into uncharted territory. Reedman looks solid in 2nd, but then it gets interesting. Young, Leon, Daly, Tremblay, all good privateers. Rookie pro Trepanier, White, and the rest of the boys. And what an unbelievable day here. Did you see Cordy has made it up to 10th in one race?
Well, I can honestly say I've never seen a more exciting Superbike race. Wow, that was a beauty. Well, that wraps it up from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. One more race left on the season. On behalf of Colin Fraser, myself, Frank Wood, and the entire CSBK crew, thanks for watching.